recording contributions.
Live streaming is on.
Yeah. So as I was just saying, now live stream is on. The main thing I want to cover is how do we record contributions at this early stage, because they're very interested. Everyone I've talked about is like, so get like a stream of cash maybe sometime in the future just by talking to you. Hell yeah, I'll talk to you.
Here is a link to deal 1. If you look at the file change, under the actual file I-21 deal 1, on the bottom line, you'll see a comment that says redacted for privacy.
Where am I looking? So I've got I-21 IP ORM. This is a pull request.
So look under files changed, and then the file will be I-21 deal 1 MD line 44.
Hold a second. I've got 6 files changed. I-21. Which line?
44.
Got it.
See, so what I've done is throughout the document, I've just referred to company.
Yep.
Where that company is actually the company that is requesting the CRM. Mm-hmm. And so it is possible for you to record the activities that you're doing with just person A, venture capitalist 1,
right?
Potential buyer 2,
right?
And just so long as you're talking, what I found was in writing this document, it's very possible just to use markdown links to refer to any kind of a marker that represents identifying information.
Mm-hmm.
Just make up a placeholder, and it's
and then have some kind of offline chart that links the two.
Yeah, and in fact, if you talk about it properly, probably you'll know who you mean just by reading the thing.
Yeah.
So that's how I'd recommend you go about it, because all these things that you're doing, I cannot see, nor can anyone else. And yes, in the future, when it comes to attribution calculation time, who's going to know?
Right, exactly. So, I've already promised contribution from.
Oh, that was risky.
Well, no, I've promised contribution, not attribution. I've promised that the conversations that we're having with our Hong Kong friends, although they don't want to be recorded, the fact of it is being recorded.
Right. Okay. So I'll wait to hear. How are you going to record this? Where are you going to record this?
Well, at the moment, I've just got it in a text document.
I know that you said that. How are you going to record it in somewhere that changes the Git repository for the Dreamcatcher Land website?
Well, we don't want it on the website.
Why not?
So we're talking about probably one layer up from the website and a folder on contributions.
Why would we not want it on the website?
Good question I asked. Certainly the Hong Kong guys seem very itchy about any kind of recording of their names. Now, if we were to obfuscate their names...
So don't... Yeah, this is what I've just been saying, right?
So if
surely you can document your activity in a way that you know and they know, but no one else knows.
Yeah, but the thing is, yes, we can, absolutely. But where does that that table which says investor 1 equals, John Smith?
You keep it somewhere.
Uh,
That's your problem.
all right. Okay. All right. Yeah. Could do that.
That's your problem, not mine.
I'd prefer to put it into Git.
You'll need to encrypt it then, or you'll need to hash a name or something. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Okay.
If you want to put it in Git, yeah, you could put it in a private repository, and you could post a link to that private repository, and so long as you never turn the permissions on,
that's the way to do it. Yeah.
And then at least if anyone reads it, they're like, oh, yep, I can see that is preserves my privacy. And then they're like, why have you still got this link to your private repo? And you're like, well, do you want the contribution or not? Because if you don't want it, I'll happily take it and claim it's mine, and you can have all the privacy you want, or I can keep this copy here for you.
Yeah. No, I think that works. So I'll create a private repository. I'll hash the names, and then I'll refer to the names publicly. It's effectively a membership number, isn't it?
Pretty much, but yeah. Okay, and where are you going to store the privacy preserving records? So not the dictionary that undoes the privacy, but the records of your activities.
Yeah, because although the Hong Kong guys are very against recording, that's probably not. I think that's probably going to be unusual, because upfront with it, and already have one recording. Where am I going to put those? If we were to stick it on to a Google Drive and then link to the Google Drive, would have the recording.
Weak. It's not hashed. Tell me what is the packet that you are working on?
The packet is what we talked about, last time. And oh, by the way, I've got a request to put in, which is what we're talking about at this point, which is about how to record with contributions. But the packet is on the network growth, on the R number.
What is the packet name?
I haven't done it yet. I apologize. I have not written.
You're working on a packet that has not been cleared by QA.
Correct.
Have you cleared the packet I-21, which is the sole packet that we have received funding for?
Yes. Well, I put that, the comments on that was a while back. Was there anything that came back from that one?
I messaged multiple times and requested you in our call to review the request, deal 1.
But do you, yes.
This request was made in response to your feedback in the call. This was completed 12 days ago.
Yeah. Now, where do I messaged you at the time with my my comments on it. But
at the time, which time? 12 days ago.
I can drop it into the chat now.
Where is it? Is it in WhatsApp?
Yes, it probably is, but
can you? Where is this?
I've just dropped it into the chat now.
Where did that come from?
These are my notes that I sent at the time. Now the question is, I think
are they the ones that I turned into a Google Doc and then we spoke on the phone about?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So these things you just posted to me have been resolved or have been processed and are represented by pull request 60.
Okay. Stand by.
Send you the link again. It's the link that you were just looking at.
Yep. Okay, right. I'll check these through now. Well, after this call.
Well. This was the place where you did some test comments.
Yep.
on the pull request.
Yep.
I deleted those comments because they were tests, and I have been awaiting your comments to.
Right. Okay. My mistake. I thought that was sufficient. So okay. So you've been when you've been pinging back saying
Where's
where-
I-21?
yeah. From my side, it's
On your side.
yeah. So my mistake. I apologize. I will I'll respond to your response.
Do you know how? How are you planning to do that?
I'm assuming it's going to be in comments. That's what we talked about.
At the end, you Temperbeat have been requested to approve a review. So if you're not happy with the changes that have been put in here, you need to indicate why, or use the request changes function within the pull request.
Yep.
If you are happy, then you should see a button that says that you approve it.
Okay. All right. I'll do that. I apologize. I was yeah, I didn't get back to you. That's my fault. But the comments I made, I didn't realize had been responded to, so I haven't responded to your response, as it were. I'll do that next. Now, where are we at with this? Because this is the first time it's going into the pool. So, or this is one of the first things that actually we're getting paid for that goes into the pool. Where are we at with the actual work? Is it already started?
On Friday, you said regardless, going to QA I-21 now.
Yep. Yep.
What happened then on Friday? Like, why is there this huge difference in what you're saying now, what you've said in the past, and what the record system is saying?
The I-21, when I was looking through that, the comments that I'd made, I read through it
When
again.
you say that, looking through that, what document are you talking about? The pull request, or
yeah, the pull request. Yeah.
so pull request 60.
Pull request 60, which actually I think it dropped it into Discord. It was like this is or this stuff that I've just dropped into the text now. It's like, okay, here's my comments on it.
No. You and I went over those in a Google Doc in a call that was 12 days ago. So that can't have been what you were doing on Friday when you say you're going to QA I-21. There's a very large hole in what's going on here.
Okay. Oi! So what was meaningful? Oi! So what was meaning from that one was that the I-21 deal was I didn't want to hold up because we're now pulling money from that. What I don't want to do is
we're not pulling money, we're holding it. It's escrowed in our account.
right.
I created a jar in the Wise account.
Yep.
And I named it I-21, and it's currently holding 6,000 Canadian dollars in escrow.
Right. But what I didn't want to do is hold up any work based on the fact that over the weekend I was doing these other activities. However, I agree.
This is the most important thing to get done now. This is our first packet, and we are failing as QA.
Yes. Hold on. Okay, right. What I suggest that we do then is not take too long on this call, and I will immediately go through this.
Why don't you do it on this call so that we can get it across the line and have another feedback loop as well?
Okay, we can do that. Hold on, I'm just going to rearrange my desktop here. Yeah, sorry, I've not been as good as I would have previously liked to. Hence the grandfather situation, but I do get exactly what you're saying. Sorry, I do apologise. It's been a shit couple of weeks for me.
Yeah, sorry to hear that. Hopefully you can get through it soon.
I'm hoping same.
Would it be easier to relinquish your QA responsibilities for the moment and then pass it off to me and Rex, for example, to take the burden off you?
What would be easier from my point of view would be that I go through this properly, not live.
Okay, sure.
I'll do this today.
Okay.
And by the time you wake up, you have the full thing. And then the reason I'm saying that is because we need to QA the QA process.
What does that mean?
If you were to self QA, that's kind of that kind of defeats the point.
Right, but if it's going to sit there with no QA, then any QA is better.
Exactly. So if you can give me 24 more hours, I'll get this done.
Okay, that's fine. Even if it takes longer, I understand there's a lot of other things going on.
Yeah.
There is, in terms of Dreamcatcher, there is nothing more important than getting our first paid packet officially and cleanly QA'd and into the actual pool.
Yeah. Agreed and understood. And also R24 needs QA'd as well.
Yes, it does. R24 has no money against it.
Yep.
Whereas I21 does. I21 is before R24.
Okay. All right. So we'll do I21. And then depending on how long that takes, R24.
It sounds like we should do I21 and then I16 and then R24. Because I16, the test pitch reports, is the place where you would be working right now, I think. And it is the outputs that you would be modifying.
Yes. And also is a new request, let's call it whatever, RXX, is the what we just talked about how to record contributions when we're concierging this as opposed to doing automatically.
Isn't that I16?
No.
Like basically I16 is not really saying an idea. I16 is kind of saying the request.
Yes.
If we say how we're going to do it, which can be very simple.
Yep.
Then
okay. All right. Oh, we can put it under I16. But what I need to do is to get my notes and some recordings. Well, one recording really. over into some kind of repository.
Yeah, well, I think that I16 will have as output a repository that is created within the Dreamcatcher Tech org.
Yep.
And so long as it's a repository that's because we can merge repositories, which will keep the commit history. So the contributions will be faithfully recorded. It's all hash-based content when it's in Git. Git can take very large files, no problem. So
yeah,
I'd say put the whole lot in there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's do that. Okay.
Right.
So priorities: I21, then I16, then R24.
Yeah.
Yep.
If I can urge you to re-listen to the conversation that we had last, which was on the 30th of October.
Of August.
That's what I mean. Sorry. Which was where we were talking about what our plan would be for the coming year.
Yes.
And so I have found that a particularly useful conversation to reorient what we're doing. We have something pretty major has changed for us, and that is the fact that I believe we do have the Dreamcatcher protocol in hand. Can't really, it's not in a white paper. It's in a website that's sort of good enough, and I feel like you and I can pitch it enough that people get it.
Yeah.
I'm going to call that done.
The pitch is pretty good, actually.
It's pretty good. You're testing it on the regular. We're getting feedback on it. No one's shooting holes in it. Everyone's like, that sounds pretty interesting. We've got a line for a public company that we can see it could be constructed. I'm working on a document that actually points out that a public company could be formed to work on the Dreamcatcher software. And it wouldn't be a case of it's just trying to build a bunch of apps and hope people buy them. It's like it's working on one thing and one thing only. Yeah. And you can reason that all of its activity is that platform. I will keep working on that over the next couple of days. My point is that we are different now. We have the Dreamcatcher in hand. Yeah. And to change to be working both towards that and within that.
Yeah, agreed.
Make it different. All right, now I don't want to be. It feels. I don't know what our final plan is going to be, but I need you to think about what that plan might look like, and I don't think it looks like regular salary payments, because
it should not be. No.
And so at a time when we didn't even know what we're doing, fine, we know what we're doing now, and it's packets. Sure, we can insert a buffer or a layer in there that converts packets into a regular stream if that's what we need still, but it should be something that, for example, has a metric like number of customers acquired, just to pick something that's crude and wrong. Number of customers acquired, X thousand pounds.
Yes.
Right.
The R number, which we were talking about on the 30th.
Right, and it should be some kind of a metric that is not specific to you or to me, but is general to anyone who wants to provide that kind of service. Because there's no real, no one's really in charge of network growth. There's a request for it. Whoever can manage to contribute to it does so. What we have to do is clearly define what the incentive is, and then juice that incentive with some cash.
Yes. 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 Agreed.
So that's what I think, that if you can find the time, if you listen to that conversation again, I think
I'll do that. I'll do that right now.
this is us pivoting.
I'd like to take this opportunity to apologize for the last 5-6 days. It's I've not been at my best. Granddad's dying horribly, and everyone's piling in on me. So I have not had headspace to do what I would usually do. I apologize for that.
Okay.
This
Do you
call,
need some help?
no, this has been a useful kick up the arse. Let's see, as they used to say in the Navy. So I will get onto this. I will review I-21, I-16, and R-24, and I will listen to that recording again and take notes on what we were talking about. I think I remember it very well, but I will listen to it again, and I'll do that in the next 24 hours, and let's talk again in 24 hours' time.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Don't bust your gut if life's getting in the way.
Life is getting in the way, but I think probably I'm letting life get in the way too much, as it were. So yeah, I can push back on life.
It's a funny thing.
Yeah. A whole bunch of people asking me for shit. Yeah. But on the point
How
of,
many of them are paying?
sorry, what's that?
How many of them are paying?
0.
Well,
Yeah, exactly. But
yes, so my wife was saying something interesting the other day, that there's this concept of quiet quitting going on around the world, where people are doing the bare minimum for their job to get paid, and then not really hauling ass or going the extra mile or anything like that. And one thing I will say for sure for boomers is boomers worked hard. Like they had it natively in them to work hard.
Hey, Gen X also. I think Gen X worked harder than boomers.
Yeah, for less pay. They worked really hard for share certificates. But anyway, the point is that I thought that was great for the Dreamcatcher, because the employment structure rewards you even when you just do the bare minimum. But the Dreamcatcher structure doesn't give you anything if you don't produce something of value. So
yeah. Well, the interesting thing about this, I was talking to this with one of the contacts I will not name. He made an interesting point. He's saying that we've got global inflation around about anywhere between 10 and 20%. We've got recession coming. We've got huge spikes, and by huge, we're talking about 1,500% in the UK for energy prices. So we've got a war generation coming up. The guys who are exiting school at the moment, they're a war generation. Now, boomers were a war generation. They're not the same. I think we're about to come into a position where actually people don't expect it just to be handed to them on the plate and expect to get rewarded for exactly what they've done and no more. It's an interesting point.
What I was going to lead up to with that was that under the Dreamcatcher model, you can let life push you around as much as you want. The packets never release escrow. So it's sort of it lets you choose more, right? Like the employee model's bad because you're forced to push life out the way and get back to work.
Yeah.
But in the Dreamcatcher model, you can do whatever. Someone else might take your packet.
Right.
So,
Sure.
if you want to stop working, that's fine. Anyway, I'm going to send you a link. This table is kind of what I would expect to see from you in terms of the privacy map, where you would sort of make up a key name so that we can talk fluently about a particular person or a company or a group of people, and you've just got to map back to the real one so that when we're streaming and when we're talking in documents, we can raise issues in GitHub and make comments and all that. And we have this table in a private repo that we can see the mapping to the real names.
Okay.
But
can you go through the top level there? Name, tag, code, status description.
So I'd say it's just a table saying name or code name, which would be the made-up name that you want to refer to them by.
Yep.
Code company or
org or
org,
Yep.
or pseudo org, something like that.
Yep.
And then because each person may or may not be associated with a company, that company also needs a name.
Yep.
And then you could fill in a company would just have a blank space for under code name. It would only have an org name, and then you'd have a third column that is the real name and maybe like a link to a LinkedIn profile or some extra identifying information that would be useful to us working behind the scenes. But it's really just a LinkedIn profile, a real name, something like that.
Effectively, it's a kind of minimalist CRM that is private, and then we can use the name.
It's really just 3 columns. Everything else you should be able to talk about. You might want to make it in 3 sections. Like perhaps you want to go people, companies, and places. If you want to also mask the places you were at where these things happened.
Yep. Also, I do need a repository because although the Hong Kong types don't like it, others are fine with recording.
I'd put it all. I'd make one repo in Dreamcatcher Tech that was public, which is where you record all your notes.
Yep.
And then I'd make one repo in your own private repository.
Yep.
In your personal account that was private.
Yep.
And that's where you'd hold this table.
I know, share that with you, of course, because otherwise we don't know what we're talking about. Yep.
Yeah. And then we can have documents, tickets, all kinds of things. It's all private. And only we have access to the lookup table that decodes it.
Yeah, that's good. And also it's a log. We can retrofit that log into whatever we do with contribution.
Yep. Now there's another link I'm going to send you. This is called Fun.
See it now? Yep.
Yeah. Now this is a open source ripoff of this other product called Roam Research. This is how I would prefer to keep my own notes, and how when I think of the Inventor's Notebook that I hope to be able to build soon, it will straight up copy this, may even use the same code.
Okay.
Foam is a plugin that goes into Visual Studio Code that lets you make little snippets of information that are all linked together in different ways and can produce nice graphs visualizing how it all connects. You may find that the recording of your activities might be better suited in this format.
Okay. All right.
Because it is a network, and this type of data structure, this graph-like data structure with backlinks, is how I will be making the inventor's notebook, and how I picture the network of people. So the format and the visualization tools will be directly in line with where I'd like to go with the software.
Right.
You
Okay.
deal with it.
So using this as because there's various observations alongside of recordings, and this is where the observations would go, which would link back to the table.
Yep. And then you can start to do, can you see under features, they've got a nice little GIF.
I do. Yep.
So see that graph that they've got there.
Yeah.
So what you could do there is because you're going to be dealing with a heavy amount of links, like this person might be interested in this project or this request or this idea, or they told me about this other person that was interested in clean tech, and it's all these kinds of things. Plus, it's a Git repo, so I can propose changes to you in a pull request to update it.
Right.
It tolerates dropping little snippets in much better than our Markdown format.
Oh, this is sweet. I like this.
So maybe you want to have a play with it, and then so long as we've got that decoding map that preserves the privacy of the subjects, then you can kind of say whatever you need to say in this format, and we can generate this visual thing, maybe even generate it on the website now, but certainly once we have the app working, this is absolutely the model that I would like to follow for the data structure of the Dreamcatcher itself. If you recall the similarities between this and the demonstration that the demonstration app that I made, call it 3 years ago now.
Yes. Yep.
It looked like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I love the graph because what we're really looking for an R number, what we need to know is how person Y got in contact and decided, and that could be motor path.
Yeah, and then it's like, why did that guy? What are the attributes of him that we can find in others?
Yeah.
If he was the greatest infectious agent we could ever find, how do we find more like him?
Yeah.
Who was the worst? Who do we not want? Who do we know is a waste of time right from the outset? All those types of problems become much more apparent in this structure.
Yeah. Good. I like this.
And last thing, if you get time to think about it, I know that you like to do things where you just think about something on the back burner. The incentive structure for things like, if I bring someone into the network, I should get a commission of everything they do that's valuable, including them bringing someone else into the network. I should get a cut of what that person did too. Obviously, it's diminishing.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know any better way to do it than to just pick some hard-coded numbers at the start.
That's an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah.
We need that attribution algorithm for network growth, and unless you can think of something better, I think we're gonna just have to pick some percentages and be like, we don't know. Here's a guess.
Yeah. I'll think about that. Actually, your initial thought there seems quite fair, right? So if I were to, I don't know, pull in Bill Gates, and then Bill Gates gets 1,000 guys. Bill should get something, but I should get some portion of Bill's.
You should get something, a proportion of what Bill got. You should get.
Yeah. The only thing would be, what's the attenuation?
Over time?
No, not over time, over graph steps.
Oh, right. I don't think it matters, because if you say that, let's just pick a number, let's pick a greedy number because the math is easy, 10%. Anyone that I bring in, I get 10% of their attributions.
And they get 10%, they get 10%.
And so they go and bring someone else in, they're getting 10% of that, and I'm getting 10% of that. So I'm getting 100% of the 2 degrees separated person. I'm getting 1% of that.
Right. And 0.1 for the next step, and so on. But you expect the next step, if the R number is above 1, that would actually still be, substantial.
Right. And, right. So there's a relationship that we can guess at between the expected R number and the percentage cut.
Yes.
If I expect the R number to be 10 and the percentage is 10%, then that's a really good growth rate, because if each person gets another 10%, that's me getting a whole
right.
percent. Like you can put all the R number and the percentage cut, they are not independent.
Yes.
You could even make version 2 of the algorithm be based on the statistical R number of the historical performance of the network. So if the R number is 100, then you should get maybe 1 over 100 or 1 over R, or,
you have to be careful with that one on the incentives, though, because if I was to talk to like a sales guy, or saying you're going to get 10% of everyone that you directly. Oh, there's 2 points here. I'll think about this. This is a back burner thing. There's 2 points. The first one is, if you get 10% of everything that is one step away, and then 10% of one further step away, I get 1% off, and so on and so forth. That's nice and clean. The other one is channel clarity. What happens if we get introduced to we don't have to worry about this. This is just something that's going to be in the back of my head. Channel clarity. So if 2 guys introduce the same person, and that one person turns out to be like a superstar, how do we do it on based on who introduced first? But
no, I think it's who the person who joined said introduced them, and then they can split that as well. Like they're like, well, it was 80% this guy, but 20% my mum. And
right, because you could have someone who nudges, right? So someone is a superstar and gets introduced to the idea, 80% there, as you say, and then just someone completely independent comes along who also knows them and nudges them over the wire. Let me think about this one. This is definitely a squirrel, as I call them.
It's a good one, right? And either way, we got to pick a model, but that's the model that everyone should be rewarded for introducing people. And then what we can do is place some funds against a formula, like say £1,000 for I'll pay £1,000 for 10 people that were 2 degrees separated from you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like this.
Yeah, exactly. And then
I'll pay extra for the signal to have traveled through someone.
Yeah, because what you're really doing there is you're buying acquisition. Sorry, you're buying leads.
Well,
offering for the leads.
Yeah, well, you're paying. Yeah, you are buying leads, and you are due some attribution for that because the guy who's getting the 10%, he now owes you for funding or incentivizing that work. You agreed to pay him if he did it. That caused an extra incentivization. Now he doesn't get the full 10%. He has to share it with you because you paid.
And then there's also an extra payment for conversion. If someone goes in with a lead, unknown, someone separate from the introduction, and converts, and they end up in the network, and that conversion is also owed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in that's one more class of attribution that we sort of have at least a starting model for.
Yep.
Then we can work on the sales model.
Yeah.
And then we have
that is effectively the sales model, isn't it? So,
is it though?
Yeah, because and I've got the perfect person to talk to. We will not name again, but the best salesman in Scotland, who will either go hell yeah or tear it to pieces. But having this kind of user get user model, which is what we're talking about, is how you get the R number up. And if the user get user is incentivized around intros and conversions, those two things, and everyone sees that's a reasonable thing to do, then suddenly you've got network growth where the R number is above 1, because everyone's incentivized to go to the guy next door, in the office and say, here, this is what to do. Yeah.
But no, but that's not the sales commission model, because if somebody introduces me to someone who then goes on to fund a packet, what should their sales commission be if they?
In that case, sorry, to cut you off. In that case, under the model I just suggested, it's a very, very loose model, but you've got an introduction contribution, and you've got conversion contribution. If the same person does that, then they get both of those contributions.
Yeah, but what is the conversion percentage? That's what I'm asking. And then, like, if they took several days to work with a client and develop a packet, that's what's the commission, the attribution of that?
Yeah, well, that's a different mode again. So there is convincing.
So I think the attribution algorithm, which I have requested in R20, which I have ideated about in I20. It's basically going to, I think, list out a bunch of modes. And I think I called them classes in I20. Do you have I20 in front of you?
Give me a sec.
I sent you a link to it in the chat anyway to save you some clicking time.
Thank you. Yep.
So I think I've listed the initial classes: code, sales, funding, buying, ideation, coordination. I think I actually need to add another one, which is introduction.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And what was? Did I miss something else? The conversion.
Yeah. So introduction and conversion. Introduction. So we got three. We're just talked about three things really. Introduction.
Isn't that sales? Isn't conversion sales?
Conversion is where the person, the target, let's call them, says, "Okay, right, I'm going to do this," and and then there's the working on the request or the idea. And
Okay, so we could I say that number 5, ideation, is the construction of a packet?
Yep.
Sorry, the specification or the authoring of a packet.
Yes, the creation of the packet. Yep.
And that would cover requests and ideas, yeah?
Yes, doesn't matter which.
Okay. Sales would be the conversion piece.
Would be I would split sales into introduction, and by introduction there's a live lead. This is the funnel, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll make an extra class called introduction.
Yep.
Or we'll call it like the valet mode.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So when you valet someone into the network, it should cost you, like it should be like your reputation. So there's like a two-way incentive there. It's like you'll get rewarded for bringing someone in, but that other person needs to acknowledge you because your reputation will help them in the network. If you're of high reputation and you valet someone in, that's worth more to us.
Yes, actually, there's another step on that on reputation, which is if you just bring in junk, a junk intro is worth nothing.
Yeah, and so if you made the algorithm, even the crude one, we could make it stateful, so that your reward for your next valet is a function that includes the data from your previous valet performance as well.
Yes. So by that, what I'm thinking you're saying is you introduce person X. Person X goes on and actually uses it. You introduce person Y. Person Y logs the name and does nothing more with it. So there should be some kind of reputation around, well, okay, so you're 50-50, aren't you? You got one useful person and one pointless person.
But there's also like if you introduce a bad person who does things that bring the network into disrepute, that should bring you into disrepute too.
Oh, I'd be careful in that one because how do you judge whether they're going to be a good or bad actor to start with?
I think this is the, well, you don't, but this is the heart of the problem. I think this is even deeper than the attribution problem. This is the question of what attribution is good and what attribution is evil. And I think that we can actually make those statements because we can have a dashboard of metrics that represent things that we consider positive about the Dreamcatcher, such as growth, increased throughput, global like net sustainability index, knowledge expansion, things like that. If we can, people can actively do things that go backwards or cause the metrics to decrease. That is what we should label evil. If you have decreased our core metrics, then some proportional algorithmic response should be taken against you. Must be taken against you.
Well, let me think about this on one level up as the introducer. If you were to put that against their reputation, what they're going to be doing is probably be more selective. So there'll be fewer introductions, but probably higher quality. Probably.
I say that is better. I say that is 1,000 times better than volume. Because I don't want some sweatshop in fucking wherever sweatshops are these days, I don't even know, sitting there cold calling people like the Wolf of Wall Street saying, come join Dreamcatcher just so that they can get their attribution. That's not a system I want to be part of.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I assume sweatshops are anywhere where it's hot, and that's not Scotland. But
it's funny that cold places don't have sweatshops.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it? Yeah. And cold places tend to produce more. Weirdly.
Yeah, it's almost like because you have to do stuff or you die.
Yeah.
Everyone's better.
And there's no surf, and you can't go out and just sunbathe.
No.
So okay, yes, okay. So there's kind of a retrospective, which would, in the head of the introducer, be more circumspect about who they're introducing.
Right. Like, I mean, I'm sure we can both think of people that we would not introduce to the Dreamcatcher, or that
right.
we would not want to be associated with if they did. And they're like, hey, you know, Tom introduced me. And I'm like, no, man, I did not. I did not introduce you.
I would move it actually from introduction to conversion. I think it's the person who converts someone is really the person who needs to get to know whether this person's actually real, is going to be a bad actor or a good actor. Introductions are broadcast, but conversions are the point where you move into the network.
When they accept you as a valet,
right?
And
right.
you indicate that you brought them in, and they accept you as a valet, and you've made a two-way agreement that this is your Padawan, and it also means that you've started off with this relationship where you can ask some questions,
right?
And that's a healthy start, right? You're like, what about this? And then the person's like, well,
yeah, exactly. So, for example, at the moment, I've got this guy in Germany and this guy in Tel Aviv, right? I don't know those guys, but they're intros. So, but the conversion into the network, you're really asking the sales guy at that point to be a bit of a gatekeeper, because he's not going to convert if this person seems to be a shyster. And
I know, I like this already. Like, even the fact that you got in is someone giving you a compliment.
Right. Yeah. It's not open for all. Introduce as many people as you want.
Yeah,
But put your
and they
name
can all sign up. But if you put your name up against them and they turn out to be bad, you're going to lose attribution. The network suffered because of your lack of scrutiny, and now your attribution is being decremented to pay for that.
Exactly, and
Overall
that would warrant whatever percentage it is that the sales guy gets for conversion. If that percentage is suitably interesting to that sales guy, there and not only does that percentage degrade from poor conversions, but the reputation also degrades from poor conversions. Then we've got an attribution algo for sales that I think sales guys would go for that. So basically, what we're saying is, talk to as many people as you want. Shout it out with the tops of the houses.
Yeah.
But when you get someone that's you think is good, you've got to do some kind of due diligence, because if you put them in, okay, so you get a conversion on what they make. If they make nothing, if they do nothing with it, then actually your overall conversion will reduce. And that will, I think, make for very high quality sales. Because you, take this.
There must be a negative effect upon you for decrementing the core metrics that everyone agrees.
Right.
These are the network goals.
Right.
This network is not one that tolerates these classes of behavior, and we have programmed that in. You want to start your own one that favors these different things, go right ahead. Honestly, if you do better, we'll probably adopt some of your config, but we have to have a means of ejecting or cleansing the network.
Yes, or gatekeeping. I mean, once they're in, I mean, what does a bad actor look like?
Someone who Someone who lies about what happened in the real world.
But we record everything that actually happens. So you're saying,
Yeah. But there's a lot of stuff that happens outside the world that is going to be brought into the network by assertion.
yes, or by reference. Yeah.
So there should be a punishment for being proven to have done that maliciously.
Actually, no. I've just we've already got it. If someone's reputation drops.
Yeah, but there's also like I could be aggressive, belligerent, and violent via text. Like I could tape the caps lock key down on my keyboard whenever I type. Or, there's all manner of bad actor.
Yeah. Well, actually, this comes down. I think this comes down to reputation. What do we record as reputation? And reputation really is in the flash to bang of you put a request, you put an idea.
Reputation is in the eye of the beholder. Metrics.
No. Reputation is in the behest of the QA. Reputation is in how often does the guy who puts up an idea or a request rather argue the costs?
No, that's just data. How that gets interpreted is up to each individual. The reputation is not, there's no thing, there's no object in our network called reputation.
No, it's a search. It's
it's a calculation done on your data, and it's going to come up different for different people.
Yeah,
depending on what you chose for your algorithm, right? But metrics are something else. I think metrics are very closely related to the Dreamcatcher algorithm. They are basically key performance indicators of, is the network doing good or is it doing bad? Right? That's something different altogether that we haven't touched on before. And, we've kind of spoken about them all the time without declaring them. We spend much of our time talking about these metrics without declaring them. They ought to be codified, right? Network growth rates, quality assurance rates, packetization rates, right? These are, packet flickering. Is it going back and forth between QA?
Yeah.
How big is the packet? What's the average time from idea to first paying customer? How long does escrow sit in the pool? How long from sign up to first escrow payment to first purchase? Those kinds of metrics are what they should be codified.
Yes. And anything that reduces the overall health of the network.
Right. And that is the only notion that we have of good and evil in our system. These are the I don't know, the Moses tablets or whatever you want to. Those dashboards are, you're a good actor or a bad actor depending on whether you increase the metrics or decrease the metrics.
Right.
Everything else is not, like the attribution algorithm is physics.
You could be an evil bastard in terms of decreasing the network and have attribution coming out of your ears.
Yeah, you could decide to do a Lucifer and suicide. You could be the greatest guy ever, and then one day just go boom, smash.
Which is pump and dump, right?
Right. You could do that, but then we would need to heal the algorithm, and we'd need to be able to detect Lucifer patterns, and we'd need to sort of like flash some little red devil horns above people who look like that guy. Right. But I'm trying to get at that so far, most of what we've spoken about is actually termed physics. They're the rules of the world that can't be changed, that we've purposely made capable of good and evil. And
Yep.
most of the time we say that evil is people that disagree with us. And if you want to do that, you can fork. So the physics don't prohibit that.
Yeah.
Just that we've never really made a stand as to what's good and bad. But these
Right.
metrics are that.
I agree, which is I think the intro, the sales is the place that the punishment comes. So you can throw someone out a network, sure.
Well, you
but how
can't really. You can sever your connection to them, and others may follow.
Well, you could mark them as, you know, red horns, right?
From your point of view.
Yeah, yeah. And if I've got a good reputation on judging people, and I'm saying
Ultimately, what I think you want is there would be a whitelist service or many whitelist services that people would subscribe to. And if you got blacklisted, suddenly you'd find that it was hard to make new connections.
right. But and someone who's blacklisted, that actually should come back to the converter who invited them into the network.
Yeah, right. Like who let the devil in?
Yeah. And what that would do was that would probably greatly reduce the number of people who are actually let in, but increase the value or increase the quality of the people that are coming in.
I think that's very important at the start. It's better to be small and full of good, high-powered, earnest people, because everyone who comes in has a good experience, and everyone who's there already has a good experience with new members, and that builds your heart. That builds the core of the network.
Completely agree. You just have to look at the trouble that Twitter's had over the years.
Yeah.
If you do the opposite,
or you know, some might say the trouble that all the Twitter bots have had over the years.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, something to think about.
Right. Yeah. Right. I'm going to get onto I-21 now.
Okay. Cool, man.
And again, apologies for the last few days. It's not been an easy day, easy bunch of days. However, that's no excuse. I'll get back on this today. You should see some commits coming through.
Okay, man. That sounds awesome.
Right. Nice one.
I'll see you later.
Yep. See you, man.